I don't like to
study.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't, like, I love learning about things, but on my own time.
Mm-hmm.
And I, like, when I did cakes, I didn't take any courses. I didn't go to school for that or anything. I just taught myself.
Yeah.
And
That's incredible.
I did go to Moncton because Michael's had a couple of classes. There was a person there that was teaching cake decorating, but it was more for like moms who wanted to make cakes for their kids and wanted something more than just a cake in a pan and slather some icing on it. Yeah. Like, it was all stuff that I kind of already knew.
Right.
But I do much better if I teach myself.
Mm-hmm. That's neat.
Yeah.
I want to say I do too, but I really have no idea. Where would you do it if you could do it anywhere?
I've always wanted to go to like Sweden and Finland, go up there. Mm-hmm. I just love the culture. Mm-hmm. And I have so much that I want to read, and I would love to read more about those places.
Yeah. What is it about those places that intrigues you?
I don't know, like just looking at pictures of their houses, like the decorations that they have, and it's very casual and comfortable.
Really minimalist, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm a bright color person. Like, I find myself very bright, but everything is gray and black and white. And like in the winter, they just kind of cozy in and turn on a fire and snuggle up and drink hot drinks, and it's like, yeah, that's me. That's what I want to do. Yeah. As much as I loved being in Florida, I'm not a warm weather person. Like, that's not me. But I could definitely live in like Europe or Northern Europe kind of. Yeah.
Well, I guess if money wasn't an option, you could just like have a place everywhere.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
I think I'd probably do that. Yeah, because as I think about it, like as you're saying that, I'm like, well, you know, France. It'd be awesome to be in France again for a while, or like,
or it'd be cool to have like a little cottage in Italy and.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
I actually, so I've been picking up different contracts. There's a site called Upwork, and it's for freelancers of all different kinds, like web designers, writers, all kinds of different stuff. You might want to check it out, actually. And so I was on there the other day and made a couple proposals to people. Like, people post ads for what they're looking for, and there's not usually a ton of money involved, but often, well, the ones that I'm looking at, anyways. But they're interesting and they're quick projects, and they're everywhere. Like, I was on a Skype call with a guy in Estonia yesterday. Talking about his website and how he wants to help fix it up and change the English, you know, like make the English a little better and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And another one was a travel blogger in Australia, and she needs some help with her blogs. And that would be a pretty cool job. Just be a travel blogger. Like, I would find it hard to travel for too long at a time at this stage of my life. If I were younger without a kid, then it would be different. But like, to just travel around and write about what you're doing and what you're seeing. Like, this one article that I was helping her with was about hot air ballooning in Egypt. Wow. And so I was researching other travel bloggers who have done this, and it's just like, holy smokes, that would be so cool, you know? Just like, and some of the pictures, I haven't done much research on Egypt. I haven't read much about Egypt at all, but there's one ancient site, I think it's called Abu Simbel. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but, and I believe that the one that I'm thinking of is, it's in one of the Indiana Jones movies.
Oh, okay.
It's like the wall, the sculpted wall that goes into a cliff. And I'm probably bastardizing everything about this ancient, place right now. But anyways, it just sort of like the idea of hot air ballooning over this like Indiana Jones movie set that's real life, that's thousands of years old, like, and to do that for a living and tell people about it.
Yeah, how do you get to that point? Like, how do you?
Well, and how much money does she make? I wonder. You know?
Yeah.
Like, do you make a living, or does it matter?
Right.
I mean, obviously you must make a living, but, or are you independently wealthy and you can just afford to do it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's not an area that I've delved into a whole lot, but I know, I mean, like, if you get popular enough, then people pay to advertise on your site. So there's that. But and I guess that would be the main source of income with that, but I really have no idea. No clue. But it would be pretty neat.
It would be. That would be really cool.
It'd be neat to backpack around the world with Autumn.
Well, I've read articles about parents with a kid or two, and they've had enough, and they just quit their jobs. They sell everything, rent an RV or buy a van or whatever, and just drive because that's what they really want to do. And they do odd jobs here and there, like they'll stay for a month or so.
And just make enough to get to the next spot.
And my sister did that. She, her and her now husband, when they were dating, they moved to Australia for a year.
Oh, cool.
And they just bought a van and lived in the van. Had a bed in the van. And they just like picked fruit and bottled wine and things like that, just like different odd jobs. By.
So cool.
Yeah.
My parents actually did that.
Oh, did they?
When they first got married, they I think it was a year. They got a van, and it might have even been a VW minibus. It's possible. They are the furthest thing from hippies in the world, but they did this. And I think they took a year, and they just took a van and they did North America.
Oh, wow.
They drove all through the States together.
That's awesome.
Neat, eh? Yeah. Yeah, you would. Yeah, I can't imagine. It's hard to imagine them doing that now. But, and actually I was watching on the Disney Plus network, there's Pixar, there's Marvel, there's these different kind of headings. And one of them is National Geographic, has its own channel within Disney Plus.
Right.
And there's a show on there, a documentary, I can't remember what it's called, but it's about this guy. He's a free climber. So like no ropes.
Oh, wow.
And he climbs by himself. So he's a free solo climber. And he did the most challenging rock face, known to be, among climbers, known to be the most challenging rock face in the world. All by himself, no ropes.
No.
Well, not entirely by himself, because of course he had like the film crew with ropes.
I was going to say there's got to be somebody, but
like there was no safety net. There was if he fell, there was no way that they could have helped him whatsoever. And they had to be super quiet so he could just focus and I just can't imagine. And that's how he makes his living. He makes a good living. At one point, he's talking to a group of teenagers at a school, and one of the kids asked, like, how much do you make? How much money do you have? And he said, I make, like a successful dentist. What a successful dentist would make.
Really?
And he lives in a van. Not anymore. I think he bought a house, but he lived in a van just so he could up and go wherever. And
so how do you make money doing that?
Sponsorships, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he uses much equipment, so I mean, but yeah, it would have to be. I mean, I can't imagine how else. But it's not like he's a super well-known guy either. He's not like a really well-known athlete that, oh, this guy wears whatever kind of shoes, so I'm going to wear those. Right. Unless you're in the climbing world, right? Like it's a pretty niche market, I would say.
Yeah.
But he actually, I think it was in that documentary, and he met up with a family who was doing just what you said. They packed it in, they got an RV, and they sold all their stuff, and I think they have 4 kids.
Wow.
All under the age of 10 or 12. And they just hit the road, and they're just going from spot to spot and doing some homeschooling, and everybody's happy and free and living in a little tiny space, but not really, because they're out everywhere. And I'm like, they're at that point of their journey, I think they were like in California or something like that. So they didn't really need to worry about being inside very much, but I'd
like to think that I would be that kind of person. but
given what circumstances, though, what would need to change for you to be that person?
And that was one of the questions.
Oh, we haven't gotten there. I haven't actually looked at the questions very much.
Straight from that. But I read something, and it was talking about, it was more political than anything. But it was like, if you look back at the 60s and you think, I would have been one of the people standing in the picket line or holding up a sign or protesting. You're really the kind of person that you are right now, because these things are still happening and those things are still going on. And if whatever you're doing now is what you would have done then.
So I was just thinking I would have been one of the girls like in the field with flowers in her hair, like high on acid or something like that. But that's not me right now.
But I'm like, I have my page, but I still feel it's hard because, and I don't know, and I know I'm not saying anything. I'm just kind of like having my own thoughts here, talking inside my head, but I'm not portraying anything. I feel limited to what I can do, because in this day and age, families need 2 household incomes. And I feel that if I was able to stay at home, I would be able to do more as far as like my page and supporting women and whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, but I'm not doing that now. So maybe I wouldn't be that kind of person. Like, if I was that passionate about it, then I would be doing it now. I don't know. It's
hard, though, because it's like, and that is a constant struggle. Like, what can I afford to do? What is too risky to do because of the finances? And what's my passion? Like, the guy that I was talking to in Estonia yesterday, his name is Rando. Really nice fella. His site is, it's a career assessment website, and he wants to help people find, their passion and find their careers and stuff, because he has had a hard time himself trying to figure out what he wants to do. So he thought, well, maybe I'll help other people. And I found this when I was a career counselor. I found it really challenging to help people, because I just want to tell people to, like, fuck it, follow your dreams.
Right.
Which is this huge risk.
And that was what you did with me, was, well, why can't you do that? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you going back to school? Like, what's holding you back?
But is that helpful? And I'm not saying, like, did I help you? I don't mean that, but I mean, like, is it realistic? And who gives a shit about realistic at the same time?
No,
but you have to.
And then there's
balance.
Well, and when you were saying, like, it's things are expensive, but are they?
Right? What do you really need?
Yeah.
Like, if this one family can live in an RV,
we're materialistic, that everything is hard.
Yeah. Or we get ourselves into a spot that, again, because we're materialistic, then we have all these debts and we have all these obligations and all these everything. But, like, do we need any of this? Like that family in the RV, that's 6 human beings living in a tiny RV. They don't have any actual income at this moment. Now, who knows how much money they had in the bank when they started.
Right.
But, like, what do you really need? And then it comes, and then, like, so in my head, then it comes to, okay, so my daughter, and in my particular case, I share her 50-50 with her dad. We have shared custody. So we're all, like, tied together. If one of us wants to do something, we all have to either agree that we're all going to move to whatever city, individually kind of thing, or one of us would have to say, okay, take her. And that's not ever happening with either one of us, right? We wouldn't try to do that to each other anyways. So yeah, there's all these different constraints.
Yeah.
Hard to wrap your head around. And, like, what do you do? At the same time, what was I reading the other day? A book by Stephen Pressfield that Andrew Cameron, who has been on my radio show before, he's with Northumberland Properties, he recommended this book called The War of Art, and by this guy named Stephen Pressfield, and he's a really well-known author. I haven't read his books, I don't think, but well-known author, and he talks about procrastination and how to how to fight that beast and how to fight resistance and sit down and do what you have to do in order to create your art or to create your business.